Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second episode of The Future is Bright here on Autism Live. We are very excited to be hosted again, and we've got some exciting guests with us today. We have Lori Ireland, one of the founders of Extraordinary Ventures. We're also going to later be joined by Scott Badesch, once again, president of ASA. He's here to talk about the national conference that's happening next month in Denver, Colorado, which should be very exciting. There's going to be an exposition with a ton of exhibitors. People from all over will have a chance to get together. The community can come together and hear some great speakers and really have a good time over a period of about 4 days or so. So we'll talk about that coming up later this hour. And in our final segment, we have a special guest. Her name is Katherine Yu. She's an author, a playwright, and a proud mom of a young little girl named Sylvia, who's a child on the spectrum. And she's also a very talented artist whose artwork was recently featured at USC on campus this past weekend. So we'll speak with her as well, and she'll discuss her new book that's coming out that'll be available at Amazon.com and at Barnes & Noble. So we'll be getting to that in a little bit. Right now, I'd like to introduce everybody to Lori Ireland. Lori, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us. I'd love to hear a little bit about what's going on with your new business venture, and I know that you're based in North Carolina and that you have put in a ton of effort into getting this business off the ground and making lots of opportunities for adults with autism. But first, we'd love to hear kind of a little bit about what's going on for adults with autism as they transition from, let's say, high school to college, or for those who, for whom college isn't an opportunity, high school into, let's say, the workforce. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I have an adult son with autism who is 25, and we've come to call it the cliff. I think most people out there probably have heard about the cliff now, because you're taken care of in a certain way, and you're fighting really hard for your individual's rights and education when you're in the public school system. But that drops off at the latest at the age of 22, and that's what we call the cliff. The services are not there. They are very scattered, what is there, and it's not a great landscape moving forward. So a bunch of us, and that includes residential situations and certainly employment and recreation. And I would say that is very true across the entire spectrum. Different needs at different points on that spectrum, but there's a dearth of opportunity. I know that we, some years ago, started an organization called Extraordinary Ventures in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We saw this cliff. We are sort of the beginning of the big bubble of people aging up to adulthood in autism. I mean, people that have children or loved ones in that category, and there wasn't anything out there. So we thought, okay, the government, sometimes they help and sometimes they don't, but you can't count on that 100%. We decided, a group of us, that we would try to solve the problem ourselves, or at least be one of the solutions. So we decided that we would start this. It's a 501c3, not-for-profit, Extraordinary Ventures, under which we run small businesses that are run for profit. And the idea behind that was we needed it to be self-sustaining over time. Again, we don't accept any government funding. These are real businesses, real products and services, charging real prices, and everyone is paid at least minimum wage. It has been a great experience. It started out quite slowly, but as it's moved along, we now have 50 employees, and a huge key to the success of that were the young social entrepreneurs. And I'm just going to say, it's been a great experience. We hire people right out of college, and they get to start a business, run a business, build their resume or whatever, sort of on the lines of Teach for America. Stay a few years and then move on. And then those are all neurotypical, but the rest of the people can be anywhere. They can be anything from neurotypical to very extremely impacted. That was part of the dream, was we were going to serve all people on the spectrum. And just because you are considered what we used to call low functioning, that there's a place for you. You're high functioning, there's a place for you. Those might be different places. We have people that come in the door driving themselves, that live alone and work at Extraordinary Ventures, and we have those that need to be helped in the door, and everyone in between. And it's been fabulous.
What are some of the types of jobs that people at Extraordinary Measures on the spectrum might be doing?
Okay, for instance, we tailor things to our environment, but mostly we tailor the businesses that we start and run to the skill set of the people who apply for a job. So people come and apply for a job, and we find out, ask them what they're good at, their guardian or parent or something, what are they good at, what do they like to do? And quite often, as an aside, it's been really funny that many times what parents think their child is good at and wants to do, turns out that is completely wrong, and they transitioned into a different business and thrive. But anyway, so that's how we decide what kind of businesses. We live in a college town, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, so we have lots of students, dorms, fraternities, sororities, all of that. So we started a laundry business. We compete directly with the other companies that offer that. We don't offer it less expensively, but we do a better job, we think. So in other words, we are looking for businesses that want quality but not necessarily need efficiency.
Okay.
Because our goal is more employment hours. And therefore, we don't market any of our businesses based on these people not being neurotypical. We market our businesses based on the quality of the product or service. So, for instance, with the laundry, they go to the beginning of the school year, people sign up for these things at college. I know I had to do my own laundry in college, but apparently that's gone.
I think we all did, and I think if you give someone an opportunity to skip that, they're probably more than grateful.
No question. So they sign up at the beginning of the school year usually, and they don't find out till about 2 or 3 times in that, by the way, most of the people that are working on this have a developmental disability. And then they get an added bonus feel-good kind of thing out of that.
Sure.
So that's one of our largest business. We have a space rental business where we have a very large event space, and then several smaller that we run for, and that's been great as a PR thing, because they do, after they've rented it and come in, they see a little film about the people that work there, and that's been really great for our community. We have a gifts business where we make candles, and in fact, in the southeastern United States, we're in Whole Foods, because they are one of our young social entrepreneurs. Several of the people like to cook, but we didn't want to get into the food business because at first that's a lot of extra regulations, etc. So, but really making a candle is a recipe. So we have the candle makers, and they make the candles. They're sold online and in several different retail outlets, including Whole Foods. So that's a business. We just recently started a dog walking business.
Wow, really branching out.
It is, and you'd be amazed at that. Some of the wonderful things that happen is many senior citizens use it, and it's the highlight of their day. This is like now one of their friends that comes in, gets their dog, takes them for a walk.
Sure.
It's really been great. We also have an office solutions business where we do everything from inputting, coding, things like that, to mailing, bulk mailings, etc., labels and such like that. So again, we can cover somebody who can drive, somebody who can do computer coding, all the way to somebody who can sort colors for the laundry. And it's been really great.
Can you talk to us a little bit about replication? And I understand that you have taken this framework for this business and really branched out.
Yeah, we actually had, we spent several years going around the country finding different other small business ideas, because we don't have the answer for everybody.
Sure.
But there are a lot of great things going on across the United States, and we got to know these people. We had a conference in Chapel Hill, and it was really exciting because it gave people sort of a hopeful feeling. Instead of thinking, there's nothing I can do, there's nobody that will hire my child or adult, in this case, you could get together with a small group of people like we did, with a low capital investment, very low, and start businesses and just get started. Other people who have more capital, for instance, The Rising Tides people in South Florida, they opened a car wash that is specifically designed to capitalize on the skills that people with autism have.
Like
and
it's attention to detail.
Right. And it's been a great success. That wouldn't work in Chapel Hill for several reasons, but it works great there. And there's others, bakeries, Papa John's Corner. Anyway, we have all of these different friends across the United States. And then we have people that would like to open something like an Extraordinary Ventures. So we have we have partners across the United States who are beginning and already started replicating our model. We have people in New York, we have people in New England, we have people in Sonoma, we have Chicago, Detroit, Florida. We're working with people trying to get something going in Atlanta, and it's not for Extraordinary Ventures Chapel Hill. I mean, we only serve, the community, our own community. It's just to help people think, I can do this too. I can just start something. I don't have to wait for the government. Many people also can go to work for large companies. There's a lot of examples out there of very good training programs for people that have specific skills that are at a higher level. It's just for those people, what really needs to happen in the bigger companies are accommodations.
Okay.
They are so good at certain things and not so good at other things.
If you had to make a comparison between, let's say, the skill sets that Extraordinary Ventures might focus on or allow individuals on the spectrum to branch out and explore versus, let's say, the more cookie cutter sort of, corporate environment, what types of accommodations would you like to see in those corporate environments that would lend themselves to better employment opportunities?
Definitely more job coaching and coordination of job coaching. In other words, it's not just being able to do the skill that you're hired for. A lot of our people get into trouble at downtime, break time, lunch time, because they're used to structure and that's how they thrive. So if a large company could structure break time, lunch, whatever it is, that would be great. But you really need somebody like a Walgreens who really stepped up to the plate and created a whole distribution center based on hiring a large number of people with developmental disabilities. So they redesigned their computers, their computer graphics and things so that when you're filling in the boxes on the lines, it's easy to understand and very structured. Yeah. So you need things like that. Transportation issues, you need help finding and learning how to use transportation. Many of these things you would imagine are covered by the public schools before you graduate, and that's a really important thing. You need to start working on all these skills quite a bit before you're going to leave high school. Even if you're going to college, there are other things. If you're college bound, there are things about living in a dorm or what you do between classes, and again, downtime, socializing. We need a lot more emphasis on that, I think, in the public schools.
So it sounds like there are opportunities within high school for the socialization process to prep these kids for when they do get to college, or if those kids are going directly into, let's say, an employment opportunity, to help them maybe develop other socialization skills geared for that corporate environment, and then maybe come in to the employers and maybe help coach from an HR standpoint, from a supervisorial standpoint, and try to encourage them to maybe follow that Walgreens model, which it sounds like is very successful,
right? And
try to spread that a little bit more throughout corporate America as an alternative to what you've done with Extraordinary Ventures.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back and speak a little more with Lori about that gap in between high school and college, high school and employment, and see what we can do to really help kids and parents get better prepared for what comes after high school. And let's see what we can do to get our kids ready for a really fruitful and productive life and to really enjoy those skill sets that they might naturally already come by. We'll be right back.
Hello, fellow activists. Today we're going to talk about the 10 steps to empowerment. Step number 1, accept and embrace this challenge. By telling you to accept and embrace the challenge, I don't mean you have to love autism. Let's get this straight. I love my child with autism, but I hate that autism stole a big part of his childhood. When I look back at my journey, I realize that I knew in my gut that my son was regressing at the age of 2. I had a hard time with acceptance. It didn't come easy for me. My denial may have stemmed from the fact that I didn't want to go through what my own mother had, raising a child with Down syndrome with no support. I even equated my mother's alcoholism with her being stuck at home with a disabled child. I didn't want that life for myself. I couldn't believe that having lived through the experience of having a brother with special needs, I was now faced with having to raise my own child with special needs as well. But being in denial did not make the truth go away. It's when we can accept the truth that it can set us free. Until next time, stay strong and keep the faith.
We're back with The Future is Bright and our guest, Lori Ireland of Extraordinary Ventures, and we were talking about how best to prepare high school students for life after high school and the proverbial cliff. So Lori, if you could maybe speak to that and kind of what parents are doing today to better prepare students and what we can do as a community to better prepare them, and maybe what the Autism Society of America has been doing to prepare kids for high school. I know this is a long question, and maybe those who aren't destined after high school for college, who are maybe just going right into the workforce.
Well, you know, Stephanie, that's a great question. I also serve on the board of the Autism Society of America, and we have been spending a lot of time on our strategic plan moving forward. I'm on the strategic planning committee, and the Autism Society of America needs to move forward with our population. It's not meaning that we don't keep in place things for young children, early intervention, and research, etc. But we now are going to, after many thousands of hours actually of planning and going with all affiliates across the United States, etc., we've really come to think that, you know, we really need to focus on lifespan planning. Because again, I think many of us early on, it was all about the cure, and therefore my kid or whatever would have a typical life. And, you know, that's hard to give up that thought. But some people will be able to deal in the neurotypical world very easily, others won't. So we need to start planning for we need to start developing resources for the aging population. And that would extend past adulthood into old age, where there's almost no research currently about older adults with autism. But so the Autism Society of America is going to focus very strongly on lifespan planning over the next 5 years. And that means we are going to collaborate with everybody out there that has research or services that deal with these issues. And we are going to be able to direct our constituency to those resources. So in other words, the Autism Society of America is not going to start an Extraordinary Ventures, right? But they know Extraordinary Ventures, and they can tell somebody in Milwaukee, by the way, you really should talk to Extraordinary Ventures in North Carolina, or people who are very much interested in research. The Autism Society of America is very interested in research, but we don't actually do the research. So we are going to be partnering with great organizations like the Autism Science Foundation, which is fundamental research in every area. So those are the kind of things that we're going to do. We're going to talk about supported living and the needs with that. We advocate on both locally, at our state levels, and nationally. That's really important. The other thing I'm going to say as an aside, we are a broad spectrum of people, both the people on the spectrum, excuse me, and the rest of us. So we are not just looking for people who are going to go into high-tech jobs. I mean, that's a great opportunity for people with autism, but that's one part of the people with autism. There's everybody else in the United States. And for instance, we run Extraordinary Ventures again, we run a bus cleaning business. We contract with the city of Chapel Hill, and there are 2 different kinds of buses that we clean. We have cleaning crews. They go out, it's a very structured task, etc. Okay. Now, and they have their breaks and all of that, lunch with the other people that work in the bus drivers and all of that at the bus yard. But the point is, those were jobs that were contracted to somebody else. So my point is, there's all levels of employment that we should be focusing on. And I think sometimes I worry that our community is too focused on the higher jobs. But most people in the United States don't have the higher jobs. Most people in the United States, those of us, have, jobs. And that's fulfilling. That's what people need. It is amazingly fulfilling to people on the spectrum to give back to society. And they know when they're giving back to society. And a job is think about yourself. Mm-hmm. A job is a very important part of your life. So the community needs to help to integrate people early on. Be open to having people on the spectrum learn social things and mix with more neurotypical peers, etc. I think the schools need to work harder on that. That's always a money constraint, as you know, in the public schools. But I think large corporations, there's one, and I forgot, one of the high-tech firms is actually focusing very much, I forgot which one it is, so I won't say, okay. But they actually has a project on hiring people with autism because it helps them. It's what Walgreens found. It helps Walgreens because these people, on average, take less sick days, they show up on time, they stay with their job forever, and these are really, really good employees. So it benefits Walgreens. It would benefit the high-tech companies to hire a lot of these people. Right. So it's a win-win. We need to, as a community, to point out to businesses how it's a win-win. It's not charity. It's going to benefit them as much as it's going to benefit us.
So it sounds like going forward, it's really a focus of ASA and should be a focus of other autism, not just the Autism Society, but other autism-related organizations throughout the United States to really focus on employment as a global issue and as an issue throughout the United States that shouldn't just be high-tech, but should be employment, basic employment at all levels to sort of support the individual's self-esteem and worth as just an employed person, and that fulfillment that comes with working at whatever level, filling whatever skill set they have.
Right, and we're starting to actually see some hard science done, double blind, all that kind of thing, showing health outcomes are much better for people who are engaged in their lifetime. So it just like you and I, if we had nothing to do all the time, your health tends to fail, and fortunately, they're starting to come out with those statistics.
They've done research on old people. Yeah. It's just all kinds of, there's elder law and there's research on older folks showing that anyone who is retired versus not retired tends to live, you live longer if you're working, obviously, because you're having a sense of worth and you feel the need to be socially engaged and you are just productive versus sitting around and not doing anything. And the same thing can be said of younger folks. Those who sleep in and are laying around and are watching X number of hours of television per day are far less healthy. They are less fulfilled. They are less productive overall. And so I'm proud to say that it's nice to know that the ASA is taking an active stance on working with other organizations throughout the U.S. to try to get people to work at whatever level and try to help boost the self-esteem of any individual on the spectrum. And really, it shouldn't just be an issue of people on the spectrum, but all U.S. citizens. I mean, it's
exactly.
Everyone.
You and I today were focused on this particular social cohort.
This is our passion.
No question.
Everybody.
And if you want to talk economics or politics, it saves money to keep people healthy.
Absolutely.
And that's really important.
The more people enjoy the work environment that they're in, the less likely they are to take sick days. And the more people enjoy the people they're working with, because it's all about how you like who you're working with and how you like the actual work environment. And so it's been proven that the happier you are, the less sick you feel, the less you have, bowel issues and stomach issues and headache issues. I mean,
Exactly.
that's a long-standing proven research. So it's thereby cheaper for employers to employ happy people.
Right.
And it's really, I mean, it behooves employers to invest in programs that foster an environment like that make people want to be at work rather than to be anywhere else or at home or God knows where.
No question. No question.
So thank you for starting Extraordinary Ventures with your co-founders. It's a fantastic organization, and I'm pleased to know that it's been replicated in other states. I hope it continues to grow. And I hope that you continue to be on the board of ASA, and I hope that you continue to go to DC and press for legislation that makes the lives better for those on the spectrum. And please keep doing everything you're doing.
I did want to just add that it is so important that we all work together. It is so important that our messages get out there. We are a huge social cohort if we all work together.
True.
And it would be wonderful if we could present a more unified front, and I think ASA is really working toward that. There's many different things that people are worried about in the world of autism, but we're all wanting what's better for the people in our lives that are affected by autism, including, I just want to, little plug here, we are never going, the preponderance of hours that are spent caretaking people on the spectrum are not paid for by the government. And there isn't a way that that will ever happen. I saw the numbers the other day from one of the deputy directors of Health and Human Services, but it's about 5 to 1. So obviously, we as a society need to find ways to support families.
Sure.
And extended families that are supporting people with developmental disabilities. And I think we can all do that together.
I think part of that, it's a point well taken. And to your point, the majority of people on the spectrum are still cared for by their families. And as families age, those caretakers drop off. And so that's then one of our big issues that we're having to deal with as the years progress and as our caretakers, pass on. But as a community throughout the U.S., it's important that we don't just sort of cluster state by state and fail to reach out to each other. And I think that's what the ASA is so great at, is being this national grassroots organization that connects people. And one more plug for you. You'll be speaking at the national conference next month in Denver, Colorado. So people can sign up for $350 a person, gets you admission to the entire conference, the exhibit hall, and I think all of the recorded sessions and breakout sessions later on the internet. So if you're interested, please sign up. You can go to autism-live.com. You can also go to the Autism Society of America's website and get all of the information that you need about that conference. It's coming up July 8th, I think, through the 11th in Denver. And it's going to be fabulous, and you'll hear Lori Ireland speak at that conference as well as many other great speakers.
And ASA will be sort of unveiling the strategic plan, so it's really important that everyone be there.
Yeah.
And if you're a member of ASA, there are travel grants available too.
Oh, see, so the benefits just keep rolling in. And if you're interested in all of the really hot issues that are facing not just the local community, but the community as a whole, and by the community I mean all of us affected by autism and those living on the spectrum, you should really try to make every effort to get out to the conference. It's a great method of support and hope and stories of success, and it should be really a fabulous event. So we hope you'll join us. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Microbusiness Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Hi, we're back, and we're joined again by Scott Badesch, the president of ASA. He's flown all the way out here, back to California, to the Future is Bright, to discuss with us the 46th Annual National Conference and Exposition, which will be happening in Denver, Colorado, coming up on July 11th. He's going to share with us how you can sign up, a little bit about the history of the conference, and some of the great benefits that you'll realize if you do sign up and you decide to attend. It should be a really great event. It'll span over about 4 days. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Scott Badesch.
Thank
Scott,
you.
welcome.
Thanks again for hosting the show. The first show was
you.
wonderful, and
Thank you.
we got a lot of positives. And maybe I should start by announcing the winners of our contest we had.
That's
Does
right.
that help? But
That's
remember,
right.
I
That's
think
right.
if people remember, last time we had asked people to make suggestions. We got a tremendous amount of good suggestions, and had a small committee decide. And Christy Feld is our grand prize winner, who will get a $500 stipend plus 2 conference registrations. And then Emily Valenzuela is our second prize, and they're still working on our third prize. There was a tie, so we will work on that. I promise we will notify everyone in the next few days and let them know, and hopefully we'll get to meet them. And maybe you can even have them on the show one day. So
fantastic. Well, just to remind everybody, the contest at the last show was to invite people to submit ideas for future shows. Show ideas and topics that might be exciting and fun. So Scott just announced the first and second place winners for those. And again, you'll be contacted directly by the ASA for your prizes, which include, it sounds like, registration and a stipend.
yeah, for the first prize, Christy, she'll get a $500 stipend if she attends, and 2 conference registrations, which has about a value totally about $1,000. And then Emily will get a conference registration free. So we hope both will be there.
Good job. Congratulations, ladies. We appreciate your ideas. And for those of you who also submitted ideas but didn't win first and second place, we really do appreciate your submissions, and we'll still take them under consideration, and you'll look for maybe those future subjects for additional episodes that we might be bringing out, and we'll get in touch with you about those. Thank you so much.
So the conference is our 46th in a row. Started in 1969, 4 years after we were developed as an organization. This year will be held in Denver, Colorado, at the Colorado Convention Center, which is located in Denver. The hotel where most people will be staying is the Hyatt, which is right next door. It's within a very quick half a block walk, not even that. The Autism Society of America's conference is the longest running national autism conference in our nation. Originally, it was set up for families. At the time in 1969, families had nowhere to turn, and it was held at a resort setting around July 4th, because that would make it so people could bring their families. Most people have some couple of days off for holidays that time, so people would go. It has evolved now to one of the largest national conferences for autism in the nation. We get about 1,300 people. We get family members, we get individuals with autism, we get professionals, we get community leaders, our affiliates all join. And it's a wonderful 3.5 days of intensive, really good seminars and breakout sessions. We had about 400 proposed sessions this year, and we had to narrow it down to 88.
Okay.
But the sessions are, for each of those groups I just said who attend, individuals, there'll be individuals with autism, there's wonderful sessions. For people with families, there's sessions, and professionals, there's sessions. Each day we kick off on Thursday the 9th, we kick off with a keynote speaker. The first speakers on Thursday are going to be Jane McGonigal, who is a...
It's a mouthful.
I should know that, but she's a well-respected, nationally known speaker on the use of video games and kids with autism and adults with autism, and how it's a learning process, and how the whole concept of video has become an educational tool. We will also have Temple Grandin speaking on Saturday.
Oh, fantastic.
Is our closing speaker. We will have Michelle Garcia, who's a very famous, well-respected person in the autism community. And then on Friday, we have the speakers tend to talk more about the research and the medical science, physiological element. And if people want to know more about the speakers and the sessions, they could go to our website, www.autism-society.org, and on that homepage there'll be a nice picture of the Denver conference site, and you could click, and registration and everything is there. There's day registration, so if people are watching this and they're in the Denver area and they want to come for the day, there's various registrations. We also have an exhibit hall. 75 to 100 people, 100 companies or agencies are there providing information, services, products that are unique for the autism community. But the other concept of the conference, and every year we do an evaluation, is that close to 90% of the people who go there said it was worthwhile their money. Their learning was increased. They became better parents. They became better individuals with autism. They became better professionals. But they also like the networking. For 4 days, you're surrounded by people who care, and it's each group feels phenomenally well. I spoke to someone who was a self-advocate, who's just a wonderful person, and she told me it was one of the few times where she was in a room with everyone that was different, including professionals, families, and how much she enjoyed being there and how well they was respected. The environment is sensitive, responsive, so we work on that. But it's just going to be a very good conference this year. And Denver is a beautiful city to have.
Mile High City.
Yeah. It's a very wonderful city. And the day before the conference on the 7th, the day of the 7th, there's some sessions that are pre-conference that are listed on our website. The conference officially opens up Wednesday night, the 8th, with the exhibit hall and some special receptions for everyone, and then it goes real quick, but it's a wonderful thing. Our staff and our committee has been working on it almost for a year. The speakers we have are great, and we know people will love it.
Are most of the speakers happening on the 8th and 9th of July?
The speakers are keynote speakers on the morning of the 8th and the morning 9th, like 8:30 in the morning till like 10:30. The keynote speakers speak. On Saturday, Temple Grandin and a group of other people are speaking, and I think it's at 12:30 on Saturday to close out the session, because there's sessions Saturday too, and we want people to go to all those sessions. And it's just wonderful. So it's and the rooms are big enough so that we always could fit people into the sessions.
Can you speak to us about some of the topics that might be covered in the breakout sessions?
There'll be sessions on anywhere from housing innovation, self-advocacy, understanding ABA, understanding research. People will talk about programs they're involved in, best practices that are out there that are working. And it's the networking that occurs also, because once the session is over, we see people sitting in those sessions. We kind of say, "You got to go. We got to get to the next session." But there's a tremendous amount of learning. But the sessions are all geared toward how people could go there and be better professionals, individuals who could enhance their ability to be greater self-advocates and understand that there's employment sessions about innovative employments. Plus, we also do an award ceremony, which I love doing, because we choose like the employer of the year, the person who, the group or agency or company that's really showed what there's an employer. That's the Adam Hebner Award. We do the book of the year. We do.
What's the book of the year?
The book of the year is we choose a book that people nominate that relates to autism. We have a committee who reads all the entries, and they choose. This is the book of the year. We're the Autism Society Book of the Year.
Sure.
We highlight our affiliate of the year, and there's an advocate of the year. So it's just a wonderful experience.
Okay. And what are if there were, let's say, the 2 or 3 hot topics that people seem to be most interested in for this year's conference?
This year we're going to be spending a lot of discussion about transition. I mean, and I think as you're going to see us as we move more and more into providing more information about the whole issue of adult services and the transition from high school beyond. The whole idea of research. How do we start using research and best practices to make good decisions? So when when a mother or father learns of a diagnosis of their child, how do they know what to do based upon research? And so that's going to be a trend. The third trend is this whole concept of quality of life. How do we improve people with autism so their quality of life is the highest possible? And each day we keep increasing that. And what works and doesn't work? What I love about the conference is it's not just professionals talking, it's individuals who are on the spectrum talking about, this worked for me or this didn't work.
Sure.
So a lot of parents will say, I heard someone talk who I envision my daughter or son may be like in 10 years. So that's really positive.
It sounds like at this conference there might be a focus on, and I touched a little bit on this with Lori Ireland, on that transition from high school to college and then high school to employment. And it seems like ASA, people are looking to ASA increasingly so as the sort of center point for research as people are progressing later in life. What do we do now that we've passed this proverbial cliff? What do we have to look to as far as resources, and where do we look to for support as we age and as our caregivers are no longer around? Will that be focused on at all at the conference? Will there be speakers about that?
And I think Lori made mention of our strategic plan. And one of the things that we feel is very important is, for years we've said there's no adult services. For years the autism community, we all know there's no adult services. We all know that transition works for some, but most people it's not as effective as it should be. We got to stop saying it doesn't work, there's no services. We have got to find solutions. And what happens at these conferences, those solutions start creeping up. People say this is working. So, imagine you take 3 days out of your life to learn. It's such a rarity in today's life. So we have the ability to start really thinking about it. But you're going to see our office, the Autism Society of America, 104 affiliates, spending more and more time on this whole issue of what do we do with this adult population? Autism doesn't end when you're 18. It's with you for life, and we want to make it so that we're always there for that individual and that family and that professional for life.
Do you foresee that this particular conference, the 46th conference in July, will be attended by any of our legislators? Will there be any senators or local councilmen?
Yeah, we usually get local, mostly Colorado, but we have local legislators and involved with a lot of our affiliates, so they may be sending some. We have in the past, we've had Chris Smith and Congressman Doyle speak. We've had elected officials, but this year we wanted to have more of a learning response, and not to suggest they didn't help learning. They're two wonderful people, but we wanted to give more kind of hands-on practicality in a wonderful environment.
Okay, well, you've heard it here. July 8th to 11th at Denver, Colorado, the convention center. You can sign up for $350, which, as we heard from Lori, includes, if you're a member, some travel stipends.
If you're a member of an affiliate.
If you're a member of an affiliate, exactly. You can also get more information at autism-society.org, is that right? So go to the website, sign up, join, become a member, support, get the research that's available out there. It's a tremendously supportive community, and ASA is really great for providing much of the research that's out there, and we invite you to join us.
Plus, you're going to be there so they can meet you.
That's right. I'll be there. I'll be in the exhibition hall. I'll be interviewing the exhibitors and finding and bringing to you for our July show new products that are out on the market, some beautiful artwork, some different interesting individuals and their talents, and some things that are hopefully educational tools and new research tools. So we'll see what's out there in the tech world, and we'll interview Temple Grandin and some other really interesting people. Yeah, some of the speakers. So it should be really fun. So thanks for joining us. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hi guys, welcome back. For the month of June, I figured we'd do some cool things that are kind of like summer camp activities. So the activity we're doing this month is making a shoebox guitar. The materials you'll be needing are an old shoebox, a paper towel roll, a pencil, a stencil, rubber bands, a crayon, and an X-Acto blade, which only the adults will be using. So first things first, I have a shoebox and I painted it just so it's a little bit more interesting. This is an opportunity for your kids to decorate however they choose. They can keep it simple or do some stripes with paint, or you can always use, stickers or tape instead of paint to decorate it. All right, now that I have this, I'm gonna take my stencil, place it on top of the shoebox, and I'm gonna draw a circle somewhere in the center, okay? So now that I have that, I'm gonna take my X-Acto blade, which is why this is for the adults, and cut out the circle. Next, we're gonna cut out a smaller circle at the top of our shoebox guitar. The reason we're going to do this is so that we have a place to insert our paper towel roll, AKA the stem of the guitar. And I'm gonna grab my paper towel roll and I'm gonna trace the outside of this so I can cut a hole on the top of this too to stick this in so it just looks a lot more realistic. It won't be usable, but it'll look pretty cool. Now that it's been traced, now I'm gonna cut it out with the X-Acto blade. And again, this is something that only the adults should be doing. Now that I have both of the holes cut in this, I'm gonna take my guitar strings and place them on. As you can see, it's missing one thing. It's stem, so now I'm gonna put this in the hole we just cut out. All right, the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my crayon and put this in. And then after that, your guitar is totally done and you're ready to rock out with your kids. And if you're really cool, you'll make another one so you and your child can play together while doing sociodramatic play, or work on imitation skills where you play a pattern on here and then they try to repeat it. I hope you and your child had lots of fun making this. And until next time, rock on.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Hi everyone, we are back with our final guest, Katherine Yu, and we're super excited to have you back, Katherine. Thank you so much for joining us and for waiting to our final segment, because we always save the best for last. We have beautiful artwork and we're excited to show your daughter's art and talk about your book that's due out next month. The book is called Drawing Sylvia. But before we get to those details, I just want to tell you a little bit about Katherine. Katherine studied playwriting in Beijing and is from China, came to the US in 1996 and has lived here ever since with her beautiful daughters. She has 3 kids, Jenny, Alina, and Sylvia. And Sylvia, she discovered years ago, was diagnosed with autism at age 3, but a little after that she discovered a very special talent. Sylvia apparently is an extremely talented artist, and some of her paintings actually rival, some say, those of Picasso. And we are going to take a look at some of those a little bit later, but first I'd love to hear, and I'm sure our guests would love to hear, about your book, Drawing Sylvia. Can we throw up a picture of the cover of Katherine's book? This is Drawing Sylvia, due out in stores, Barnes & Noble, next month, and also on Amazon.com, is that right?
Yes.
So if you're interested in Drawing Sylvia, this is a book about Katherine's experience with her young daughter from ages 3 through 7. And Katherine will be putting out a new book that she's working on that will focus on Sylvia's experiences from ages 8 through 9 and will feature much more of Sylvia's artwork. And we also have a beautiful picture of Katherine's young daughter, Sylvia. Can we throw up a picture of that? This is Sylvia, everyone. And she is just the most gorgeous little girl. And this is the beautiful face behind all of these pictures that we're going to show you. Apparently, there are thousands of these paintings now out there. And in the Drawing Sylvia book, Katherine, aren't there hundreds of these pictures that you've put in?
The hundreds, yes.
Hundreds.
200. That's what I try to put in the book.
So can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write Drawing Sylvia?
Yeah, actually, Drawing Sylvia is about the autistic child speaks, and it's about a young girl who named Sylvia, my daughter. Of course, she was diagnosed at 3 years old with autism. And she's what is called special needs child, of course. This book about this is a documentation of her journey, and then when she grew up, the period 10, and at 10 she drawing. So she's only 10 years old now. She from 3 years old she started, 3 to 5. Her artwork is the early stage artwork. It's like a colorful, right? Colorful and the heart-filled kind of drawing, and most like draw one-eye character like a Picasso style. So,
well, can we take a look at some of the early, we have these one-eyed drawings that are from Sylvia's early days. They're really beautiful. This is an example. Katherine, is this from when she was 7 years old?
Yeah, this is one-eye style. That's early, like 5 years old.
I think we have a couple more.
Yeah, a couple more. Okay,
this looks like Barbie dolls.
Yes, that's when she. Yes, some like one eye, some like 2 eyes. So
fantastic.
Yes, this is more like Picasso style. That's yes.
Really great.
And when she turned the turn, she get more details in her unique way. So
you can see how the artwork has evolved.
That's more like Picasso styles, I think, the way. There's more there? Okay, that's the only one email. So anyway, I just for about so many years, I think I need to do something about her art because she collected her own way too. She doesn't talk. She just use her way to communicate with us. She translate her emotions, feelings in the colors and the characters and the shapes. So when she turned to 10 years old right now, she still doesn't talk that much, but all her times folks are drawing and it's just colors and shapes, characters. So that's why she communicates with color shapes, right? So people asking me, and then what was my inspiration to write this book? And I think it's my experience. Before Sylvia was diagnosed, I know nothing about the autism. And then after that, I found out it just really scared me because I checked the information, I checked internet. Maybe she never can talk, she never function normal, she never those kind of words really scared me. Right. Maybe she never collect me, she never can talk to me. So I don't back down myself. I take the challenge. I think this is a blessing for me, how she draw, how she explore herself, her talent. And that's why I just take it as a blessing. It take a long time to learn how to work with her as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I read a few chapters out of your book, the beginning chapters and the prologue, and I have to tell you, it's a very touching, very emotional book that starts with the birth of Sylvia, and I can't wait to read the rest of it. I'm sure it's going to be a very successful book, and I appreciate that you wrote it. I'm sure that many of the families out there will benefit from reading it, and myself not having anyone in my family directly affected by autism, it was also very educational to read that. And so I appreciate that you took the time to share your experience. That's really an open-hearted gesture.
Yeah, just art, just like a key to open the door around her, how she sees the sense in the world. I think Sylvia's drawing express like experience in our world from her perspective, an important step like in learning about autism to shift the focus from the disorder aspect to the talent aspect. That's what I think. This shift can be a key to successfully to integrate autistic children with the society. It's important that we change our perception of autism and learn the talents hidden within the autistic children.
And I agree with you. I think that that's part of, we were just talking to Scott Badesch, who's the president of the ASA, and that's part of what ASA is trying to do, is to shift people's perception and stop seeing it as some kind of disorder, but to really focus on the fact that people on the spectrum are multi-talented and in fact are extremely talented, not just in the tech department, but artistically speaking and on so many different levels, and that it really, we need to bring it to the forefront and really focus on some of these individuals and just really show that we have a community filled with wonderful people and not people who should be held back. And that's what we're trying to do, I think, in education and with new legislation. And so it's great that you're shedding some light on this. Could you show us some of Sylvia's early artwork? It looks like you've got some gorgeous works on canvas here.
We just show I think we showed this one, right?
Yeah, I think we did show that, but it's even more beautiful on canvas. How old was Sylvia?
I showed this when she was 9-year-old.
Okay.
She drew this.
And this was just featured at USC in an exhibit as well, right?
Yes.
And what's this one next to it that looks like, it's
one.
One of my favorites, it looks like a bunch of fashion dolls.
Oh, this one,
it's
yes.
Great.
Because it's like a multi-fashion.
She seems to love the dolls.
She loved the dolls. She loved beautiful things. She sees beautiful things, she just look at them, she picture them.
And she didn't trace these or copy these or anything.
No,
this is just out of her mind.
She doesn't trace them, she just goes straight, so confident when she draws.
Yeah.
And like a 7-year-old, she drew like a comic book. She made her only the book, like each, like a front side and the side, back, and they sit down, walking, standing. But like, it can be consistent, but never do any sketches.
Right.
That's how she just do.
How long does it take her to make a picture like this?
Picture like this.
Sure.
This one, I think like a half hour. Some like
wow.
Some really fast. Oh, this is one longer. Because it's more color. Some like an hour, half hour, and the fast like 10 minutes. Okay,
if you gave me half an hour, I could maybe give you a stick figure or a picture of a sun. That's about as far as I would get.
Yes.
Ever.
Yes.
So.
And right now, the recently, that's her new drawing.
Oh, please show. Oh, wow, that's beautiful. That's really pretty.
Yeah, so it's colorful.
So she's moving into florals, it looks like?
Yes, and then also still do more characters. And this one's like 2 eyes.
That's beautiful.
The girl.
Yeah, she's getting more advanced with her facial features.
Yes, and more details in the eyes.
And one of my favorites here in the corner.
Yes, the red one.
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
That is really fun.
Yes.
That looks like it could be in a gallery
that's
for
one
sure.
her you there.
And my very favorite, I had to save this for last. We love this. This looks like a castle to me. I know we all see different things, but to me, this is just absolutely beautiful. And Sylvia has done many cityscapes, right?
She did a lot.
A lot of cityscapes.
Like cities, buildings. She loved those. And all different colors. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is just a tiny little sample of her abilities. She has thousands of these pictures. They are all over the place. If Katherine tried to bring her pictures in, she would have suitcases filled with these pictures.
Yes.
And some of them are done on canvas, and some of them are framed, and some of them are just loose sketches, but they're in books, they're everywhere, and you can see her works in lots of different places. So is she continuing to evolve as an artist? Is she still drawing?
Every day. That's
every day.
Because she doesn't read, she doesn't go to TV. All she does is drawing and computer, looking now there's like YouTube, and then most times she like to draw this character still, of course.
Fantastic.
So,
so the two of you are taking this journey together, and as you write, she paints, and
yes,
so goes the book.
We're in the same room. She shared with me the same like office room, And it's funny, she doesn't sit on the chair. She sits on the floor. It's like a table, kind of really low. She just sits on the floor and drawing, just long stop.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But you get a picture into what she's thinking based on the pictures that she gives you.
Yes.
That's pretty spectacular, and she looks very talented.
Yeah,
so.
I wrote this book as the main reason because of her drawing, and then I just want to share my experience with everybody, how we, remain hopeful, calm, how we deal with communicating with the child with special need. So the 4 topics on this book. So how you communicate with your child when you have special needs, how to build a relationship, because it's hard, they won't understand, and then how to remain hopeful. That's my 3 topics I'm talking about.
Well, that's a very good topic for parents of
Yes.
autistic kids, because it seems that sometimes hope is the hardest thing to hold on to.
Yes.
And you feel like you're working so hard, and when you're striving for that connection and you feel like it's not there and you feel like, why isn't it there? You have to look for alternative ways to have it, and it seems like your book helps people to understand that you
Yes.
do forge that way with your child. It's just in a different way. It's not in that traditional sense of maybe looking at each other, but there are other ways to have that closeness.
Yes.
And your book is very helpful and very worthwhile, and I think it will really help a lot of individuals to find that hope and to find that support. So thank you
Yes.
for being brave enough to write it.
I know. I can just give.
very
because
personal.
I know it's personal. Yes, there's it's about me, how the mother and the daughter's relationship, how we connect, because this is so difficult for the parents that have a special needs child in the home. Just you have 7 days, 24 hours to have them watch them.
Yeah.
Just when they are young, they don't have any danger of sense. They just can run into the street. They can just run in the water. Because I have not too long ago, I have the story. I went to Walmart, right? I know the Walmart, I was so many people there, and it's crowded. Sylvia, she doesn't think it crowded, and noise and more people,
Sure.
and the bright light. So that day I took them because I needed school supplies. So I took my daughters, and Sylvia, I was run straight to the doll section, the toy section, look at the dolls, and then when new dolls come in, she want to collect. And then I told my other 2 daughters, watch her closely, and they stay with her, because once she go to the doll session, she can stay long as possible. But sometimes bad situations happen. I told my daughter, watch her closely, I'm gonna pick up a little stuff. Now it's not so far away, right? But suddenly I hear Sylvia said, she's so fat. Sylvia should always go straight to talk, right? I saw that maybe she saw some dolls and the dolls fat, right? So I didn't pay too much attention. And now they're still doing my thing. And suddenly I saw some big lady standing right in front of me. Mm-hmm. She said, and really angry face, she said, you have to apologize. And this is sad to ask quickly what happened. Mm-hmm. Your daughter said, my daughter, she's so fat. I mean, she didn't even see me stay with Sylvia. How did she know it's my daughter, Sylvia, right? But maybe she saw her, and it doesn't matter. But what she said is just really making me kind of upset. And then she's so straight, you have to apologize. And then I apologized. I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened because my daughter is a special needs child. She won't understand. She says things she saw. What she saw, she speak straight, all loud and speak. And then she can say oh, this girl with many freckles. This girl is fat. There's something big. There's something smell bad, ugly or something. She can just whatever she say. She just straight.
Sure.
So I just mean that. And then the lady said, but you still have to apologize. I said, yes, I'm so sorry. And then she said, you have to teach her how to behave. And then that's making me just so upset because I was speaking, stand up there. I don't know what I can say, right? I was just silent, stand. Maybe she saw me, maybe had tears in my eyes, and then she just walked away. And then, yes, of course, the kids, they don't understand.
As a parent, and especially as a parent of a child with special needs, you're dealing with new issues every day. And parents out there, special needs children or not, they're dealing with issues like this. I hear stories like this every day.
Yes,
You
every
have to
day.
be every day strong for your
Yes.
for your children. And even in the press, you're hearing about how we as a society are going out of our way now to educate, for example, the police,
Yes.
to be more aware of people who are out there in the community with special needs so that we can more compassionately deal with each other. And if only every day
Yes.
people, not just our police force, but just generally people in the community would be a little more aware
Yes,
and a little more compassionate.
Yes,
it would be
that's what-
easier. So it's unfortunate that you had that experience, but hopefully as we
That's
evolve,
so much.
yeah,
Actually.
and books like yours will help
Yes.
people to be more aware and to be more compassionate, and as a community we'll be a little bit better able to deal with each other.
Even this morning, I
Yeah.
drove Arlena to the school. I told her, I said, give them some love when they need it. Show them
Yeah.
guidance when they're lost. Just give them lights when they're in the dark. And when they're lonely, we just give them hugs, kisses. Show some caring because they need our open arms to accept them exactly who they are.
Well, you're a beautiful example of a mom, and we
Yes.
need more moms like you, and we, again, appreciate that you wrote this book and that you came to join us today, because we need examples like you.
Yes, thank
really
you
do.
so
And your
much.
daughters are very, very lucky. So thank you for joining The Future is Bright, and we hope to see you again soon and to see much more of what Sylvia has to offer as an artist and what you have to offer as a screenwriter and a playwright and an author.
Yes,
So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. That's all we have for today on The Future is Bright, and we'll see you next month, hopefully live from Denver, Colorado. So sign up for the conference and have a fabulous day.